Hey guys, just a reminder before we start the videos to like and subscribe so we can keep providing these great videos for you.
Greg, thank you very much. Thank you very much for making the trip. That's awesome. Like I know you came from far away, and I hope you're having fun because kind of everybody's here, right? It's a center of racing. It's gonna be a cool event. I'm looking forward. What do you think about so far?
I came for the fun. I'm having fun.
We're having fun.
I'm having to force myself to practice because I'm having too much fun just kind of watching and hanging and chilling. And I like slot racing, right? But I'm not like super competitive.
Yeah.
And I'm not like super meticulous about card setup. So I make sure it goes okay. And then I make sure my trigger finger is what's making the decisions.
Working
Making sure that's working, yeah.
But you guys do a different kind of you enjoy the hobby in a different way. When you try to market something here, we always try to say, so which audience this is going? Because you have several audiences. You have people who just collect, never open the box. You have people who race here, trying different tire compounds, and the foam insert should be 1 millimeter over. And there's people who have a home track, and just enjoying themselves. So have a couple of friends coming over.
Yep.
So how do you see this scene like? And also there's little groups inside of a garage or it's a hobby that you have so many niches, and this race is kind of bringing them together because I have some Rome racers trying their luck. We have the kind of pros going like half a second faster than everybody else.
Yeah.
So how do you see yourself on this? And
I'm right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
I'm more than casual, and I'm less than professional. I guess. I'm totally not sponsored, except for you helping me come down for this. But
no, there was an invitation.
It's and basically my motto is don't come in last. Not last. I'm happy if I'm not last. But if I'm last, that's no big deal too, because I usually had fun getting there.
Yeah, but you're more than middle, and because I know that you develop stuff. We're going to talk about the tire tour, but I know that you develop stuff, and every time
because
I
know that doesn't mean I'm good at it.
Oh wow! And every time that I go to the World Wide Chat, when I find the link and I have availability, and I know that you guys go, it's fun for me to participate on that, because some people go very deep in situations on issues that they're not that important, like somebody complaining about the performance of a tire of a Carrera car that they're not racing with anybody other than home.
It only matters to them. Yeah.
It matters to them. Yeah. So that chat is kind of very interesting for me every time that I participate.
I think it's a good cross section, basically, of the hobby. Like you said, the hobby is so diverse. The enjoyment of the hobby is so diverse. When I say the hobby, I mean slot cars, which encompasses commercial 124 wing cars down to gravity HO cars and everything in between. So there are those divisions, and then there are the divisions of those groups with what you were talking about, casual, just playing around at home, maybe hooking up with some guys and just tooling around on their home track, or going to a professional event, big national event like this one, or going to their commercial slot car raceway where they're trying to beat the 1.21 second Blue King record.
Yeah.
And that's, like I was telling Travis last night, that's normal. That's human nature, right? Because you can't have everybody loving the exact same thing. That's just not possible, right? Yeah. So people will enjoy whatever facet, whatever angle on the hobby, whatever scale, whatever, whether it's scale racing or just blob racing or whatever you want to call it, magnet versus non-magnet, wood versus plastic, all of that. You can't help but have those divisions or niches.
Yeah.
And so the tendency, the human nature is for when somebody starts doing something and they enjoy that thing, then to, again, it's just human nature to kind of not like the other things. Like if you say you like a thing, then if you say those other things might be just as likable, then you think to yourself, well, did I choose the wrong thing? Might I like that thing more, or the same as what I'm liking now? But I just invested all this money and time into this thing.
Yes.
And so then you're questioning yourself. And so it's human nature to protect that decision by separating yourself from the other choices that you might have made. There's nothing better or worse than any of the other facets of the hobby, subjectively, but objectively, people choose whatever they happen to choose. Like people who've been with it since the 60s, that's what they're probably going to prefer, is that kind of racing.
Yeah.
And so that's what they strive to do throughout their hobby enjoyment.
That kind of explains why it's so hard for me to bring people from Piranha or Buena Park, because they're so invested on that kind of slot cars that even coming here, it's the same set of skills, the same set of tools.
Yeah.
They find out it's the same universe, but it's a completely different town.
There are few people who enjoy multiple facets of the hobby to begin with, or transition from one to the other, or just go from one to the other back and forth. Like Jocham was an HO pro racer, and now he's topping the charts over here. There aren't many people like Rick Jocham.
Well, Eddie Shore,
was he HO too?
No, Eddie Shore is 132nd only, but he runs Far Out, which is plastic tracks basement, and then he comes here, and then he goes 124.
That's probably closer than HO is, but it's still, like you're saying, there's similarities between all of them. Like when I went to the Quarrel a couple of years ago, Mike Block had me come out for the Quarrel. That was a whole eye-opening experience for me, because in my youth, when I first had slot cars, it was AFX, HO cars stuck down with magnets and everything. And it was, I don't remember ever playing with my dad or my brother. It was pretty much just me playing with the cars. And it was always such a hassle. So that was my memory of HO racing.
Hassle, you mean the
poor conduction, conductivity with the car and the track and everything, and braking and all that kind of, and the cars were just on-off switches. The controllers were terrible. It was a toy. It was, it was a toy.
But today, if you grab one of those Carreras or the Polycar or the Scalexis kit, they're good. Reliable. They just go forever.
Well, and when I went to the Quarrel, they're racing Frey style cars, which are gravity cars. So there's no super strong magnets, but they had these things tuned and tweaked to the kind of stuff that we got out here. But they were in those tiny little HO chassis, and they're running just smooth and quiet and beautiful on these routed tracks and everything. And it's like, holy moly! I had no idea this HO existed
and can be that
much fun. Yeah. And it's like, now I don't decide not to do HO because I don't think it's good. I decide not to do HO because that's a whole nother investment to get into. Yes. Some of my tools would be useful, but there's a lot of tools I'd have to get. The really good cars are just as expensive or more expensive than the really good 132nd cars. Yeah. And so I basically, I came to that realization that there are different facets within each of the different facets of different scales and sides of enjoying the hobby. And then we're not even talking about landscapers versus racers versus collectors. And
that keeps going. Yeah. So how did you, if you tell me that you don't have memories with the family, have memories yourself playing with the crappy vintage HO stuff. I would say 70s, but I want to say 80s, so I don't know.
It was late 70s, early 80s for me.
Okay. How did you decide to come back? How did you decide to say, this is going to be a useful hobby for me, I'm going to have a room for that? Because you have a cool track.
There's a story.
Okay.
I had pretty much forgotten completely about slot cars. It was like, I knew if somebody had, do you remember slot cars? I'd have said, yeah, I had the AFX when I was a kid. But my younger son, I think he was about 8 or 9, had some Christmas money from his grandparents that he wanted to go spend.
So you use your son's Christmas money to get a set? Oh my
Let me finish the story. I'm not
still looking for his dollars.
Wait for the rest.
Okay.
So we're out for lunch with my grandparents, and just across in the same shopping area was Fantasy World Hobbies. Mm-hmm. And I had never been in there, and he's like, "Hey, there might be something cool in there for you to spend your Christmas money on." So we went over to Fantasy World Hobbies, and pretty much as I expected it, full of model making and RC cars and stuff like that. And then there were slot cars, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember slot cars." Thinking back to my AFX days. And he saw, I think it was Aurora or Auto World or whatever, the Speed Racer set with tons and tons of track and the Speed Racer and Racer X cars and everything. And he's just like, ooh, that looks really cool. I want to get that. So I'm like, okay, cool. You can get that and play with your brother, and I'll probably play. So they got that, and we took it home, and they just went up to their room and started putting it together and playing around with it. 20, 30 minutes later, they come down and say, Dad, we need help. And I go up there, and one of the pieces of track was missing a rail.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, that makes this track pretty much useless. Even if you could do different layouts, you still want to do the whole big layout.
Yeah.
So I called up the hobby store, and they're saying, yeah, that's, we'll return that for store credit, and you can, get something else. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I had a week to figure out what to do. Then I hit Google and went down the rabbit hole of slot cars in that time frame.
What year was that?
Well, it's about, I pretty much started with the local club in like 2009. So 2008, end of 2008, beginning of 2009. Yeah. So that's when I found out about Scalextric, and that's when I found about digital, and digital just blew me away. I'm like, really? That's awesome. Change lanes, more than 2 cars, all this cool features. And so we went back to the store, and I had told the boys about, what I had discovered, cooler cars and all this stuff. I'm getting excited about it. And so they're becoming more excited about it too. So we go back to the store, get our store credit, and went to buy the least expensive Scalextric digital set, which is a good $50 to $100 more than what he had. So Dad paid for the difference of that, of course.
So there's one brother who
and the brother
he put his name in the pocket.
He bought his own car and controller.
Okay.
They also sold a car and controller in a little pack.
Okay.
And so he got that. So then we had 3 cars. So all of us could play on that
digital,
together. Yeah. And so the 3 of us basically spent weeks and to months playing with that.
It's very nice.
Ironically, the younger son who started this whole thing lost interest because he wasn't very good at it, and he got frustrated with it. And I didn't know enough. I didn't know what I know now to be able to help him, not get so frustrated.
How old was the older one?
Like 4 years older, so 12,
12?
13. Yeah. And he actually stuck with it. He became more of a car enthusiast as a result of slot cars. Myself, I knew nothing about cars, so all of the cars I know are through slot cars.
Okay. That's fun. That's funny because normally you have like a car guy.
Yeah.
Being crazy about the
My
miniatures.
dad was not a car guy. I didn't really have car guys in my life.
Eddie Shore is like that. He doesn't. Yeah. He calls Ferraris Fords and couldn't care less.
Yeah, me too. That's basically me. I only recognize them because I've seen the slot car of it, or I have the slot car of it.
That's interesting.
But my son, my older son, got into it enough that he actually came racing with me with the Analog Club. And he raced me with them for several years before.
Which club was that?
It started out with the PSSRA club, and then there was a split, and now it's with the EMSA club. But it's basically a garage track club. No dues or fees or anything. Just mostly box stock, change of tires, true-in tires, that kind of thing. How
many races do you guys have? Like, it's every week, every month?
It's every week.
Nice.
Every Monday. And we usually have somewhere between 8 and 10 regular racers. Yeah, enough for racing and marshalling.
Yeah, that's great. And a 4-lane wooden track or plastic?
We have about half and half. So we got like 7 or 8 tracks, and 4 of them are plastic and 4 of them are wood.
Okay, so you guys to go to people's house.
So all non-mag, because you can't really do magnet on wood.
And all the tracks close by?
Yeah, they're all within half an hour. One of them's a little bit far away, and commute times for me kind of make it longer, but not farther.
That's fine. It's just like it's very close to the Far Out Club that we have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Far Out's fun.
Yeah, what they're doing is very, very similar.
Very similar.
Probably the only difference would be, I don't know if Far Out races crash and burn, but we race.
What is crash and burn?
So when you come out, if you crash, you're done. So, but we race 2-minute heats with a pause at 1 minute. So basically it's 1 minute plus 1 minute heats. If you crash during the first minute, you get put back on at the second minute. If you crash during the second minute, then you're off again for the rest of the race. So
you just stay on the track instead of speed.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And you need to drive conservatively and not outdrive yourself and not wag your tail all over the place and get knocked out by somebody else. And
that's gonna be bad.
It's very encouraging of conservative driving.
Okay.
You get your laps, it's like what you've had an off and you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to win this race unless I just focus on getting my laps.
Yeah.
Don't worry about beating the other guys 'cause we also have place points. So at the end of each heat, person in first gets 4 and then 3, 2, 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that encourages us to keep driving until the end of the minute. Because in their history, they had people just knowing they weren't going to get another lap and just pulling the car around in front of them to make it more convenient. But then other people would go in front of them and they'd complain that they stopped racing. I'm still racing. I'm over there. I'm ahead of you. Why did you stop? So they added points for who's ahead at the end of the minute.
I understand.
So it just stops dead power
in,
cuts.
in only 132nd replica cars.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys have classes already, or like?
Oh yeah.
You decide on the time. We have like setup classes, and you say most
So-
of it is out of the box stock, right?
Yeah. So the way we race is one class every 2 months, and then at the beginning or end of each class, we vote on what the next class is going to be. So right now we're racing NSR Moslers
Okay.
because that's pretty much a class of its own. And then we voted for the next series to be Revo Slot Group 2s.
Okay. The new
So,
ones.
and again, the rules are basically right out of the box, but you can glue in to your tires. That's it.
That's
no
it.
ballast.
No magnet?
No magnet. Yeah. No nothing.
Yeah. The next NSR big race that we're gonna have here, it's gonna be only Moslers.
Interestingly, he chose because when we vote on a series, it's a member of the club nominates what they want us to race. A lot of times it's something that we've raced in the past. So we've already got the cars, we've already got them set up. Maybe you need to do new tires, but you're ready to go. Sometimes new members need to buy a car because we've raced so many different classes over the years. This last one of the guys nominated NSR Modern F1s.
Modern fronts.
Because he got a new car.
Yeah.
Right? He was also the same guy that nominated the NSR Moslers. And his NSR Mosler happened to be an inline. Which is not the preferred for most of us. But it was voted in. So we're running NSR Moslers with inline motors.
Oh God.
So I didn't have one, so I was able to purchase one that was already set up and ready to go. All I had to do was, tweak the screws and true the tires, and I'm good to go. But a lot of the other guys had angle winders or side winders, and some of the guys wanted to buy cars because they liked the look of it that didn't come in inline, so they had to get replacement pods and gears and things like that.
I don't believe that if we carry, just have a few inlines.
Few inlines, yeah.
Because the race that we're going to do here is going to be Sidewinder.
Yep.
And the angle winders, I think, is the most popular. So I got both of it. And the inline, I got just a few just to have it.
On the bright side, it's just a pod.
Just a pod and a gear.
Just a pod and a gear.
Yeah.
And
the pinion, yeah.
And if we race them again, probably end up doing angle winder or sidewinder. So that means most of the guys are already ready to go with their previous parts.
Yeah, change whatever.
And people who have just inline like me, I just get another pod and another set of gears.
But that's a cool club to set up. If you have the tracks available and have interested people to do it.
Yeah. And we try to be as welcoming as possible, and if somebody comes.
Is there a website where you can find more about it?
We've got a Facebook page, but
How's it called?
EMSA. Electric Motorsports Association. But Facebook isn't. You can't really advertise on Facebook without actually paying for advertisement. So it's not
changed.
It's completely, and YouTube is the same. So we don't spend money. We don't get money, so we don't spend money on advertising. So it's pretty much word of mouth, and if somebody happens to find,
but even
our
though,
forum or whatever,
imagine if you start advertising and 72 people shows up. See how
that would
bad it is?
That would be terrible. Honestly, that would be terrible.
Not enjoyable for anyone.
But yeah, so when we do have new members,
we want to get it popular, but not that popular.
Exactly. No, 8 to 10 is a good number because we like to run what we call King of the Hill, which is somebody brings a car and then everybody races that car for fastest lap.
Nice.
You get 10 laps to get your fastest one. So it doesn't matter if you only get one good lap, that's still one good lap, right?
And how is the level of people there? Like
We don't have any Rick Jockums, but we've got some guys that are almost that good.
Okay.
And some guys that just started who've never pulled a trigger
And then
until a year ago or so. So I keep saying we try to be as welcoming as possible. So when we get a new guy, we're like, or when somebody comes over to see what's going on, like when we were at Russ's the other night, one of his neighbors came over to just kind of check out his track. And we're like, come on, come race. You don't need a car. Well, you can borrow my car. You can borrow my controller.
Yeah.
You don't need to pay a dime to have some fun on this. If you do like it, then you might go
tell your wife.
Exactly.
Just hire a lawyer.
Hey, you know what? It's cheaper than a bar. It's cheaper than...
Yeah, at least not drunk. But tell me more about the worldwide chat. How did you have that idea to start it? And for how long has it? We've been for almost 100 episodes, right?
170 episodes.
Jesus, man.
That's 170 plus weeks, because there have been a few weeks
that
off.
You haven't. Yeah. And when did you start it, and why you have that idea, and how was the very first ones, just a couple of people, and then we're growing? Because I noticed that there's people just watching now, not even putting their face on it, they just listen to it. They want to participate.
Yep.
And every time that I'm there, I'm listening. I want to give you like some insights that I have that you guys probably don't, but I just called myself. And
don't do that. If you have insights, the trick is to keep it succinct.
Yeah,
we rib one of the guys for talking at length.
Really? Talking too many.
Talking too much. Yeah,
too much on.
So it's kind of a running gag.
Industrial secrets.
The impetus of the whole Worldwide Slot Car Chat was the pandemic, because when that started, although some of the guys decided that they want to go ahead and race with masks on, most of them they're wearing masks and stuff, but I wasn't going to take that risk, because I'm definitely at risk. If I got it, I would be dead. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go racing anymore.
Not only that, but before we knew what it was, we don't know what's going to happen if somebody gets it. We're going to lose an arm, lose an eye. What's going to happen? So
yeah, it was an unknown, and nobody wanted to risk it. I certainly wasn't going to risk it. So, but I wanted to have that interaction with friendly slot car guys, and I'd been doing that for years, obviously on forums and groups and things like that. But it's the in person that I missed. And so Zoom isn't in person, but you get more of that in-person feel.
Yeah.
So I just kind of randomly said, oh, hey, Zoom, let's try a Zoom chat. And so I posted it on Slot Forum. I said, hey, it was just literally just spur of the moment. I'm going to do a Zoom chat now. Here's the link. Come and join me for a chat. And some of the guys from the UK hopped on. A couple of guys from the States hopped on. And we just kind of sat there casually chatting about all kinds of slot cars and digital slot cars and how to do various things. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, hey, that was fun. Let's do it again next week. And then that just kind of snowballed, and eventually I had to do my best to encourage and enable worldwide chatting, which meant picking times that other time zones can attend.
That's why I have two separate.
Exactly. Wow. That's why I do, for our time zone, I do 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. So 11 a.m. is great for pretty much anybody who's at home all day in the States, which was the pandemic people, and then most of the UK and Western Europe. 4 p.m. was for those down under and far Eastern Europe. Okay. And basically that half of the world. And so we got Kiwis and Australians and everybody. Travis came a few times. Yeah. There are no perfect times, unfortunately. Yeah. For everybody, but those two seem to work.
I try to do my best. Every time that I know this is happening, I try to jump in. I think I participate like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. And I don't want anybody to feel bad that they don't come on. I want everybody to feel comfortable attending the Zoom, even if they don't turn their camera on or turn their microphone on. They can still chat in the text chat of the Zoom.
Or just listen to it.
Or just listen to it. The YouTube thing is kind of separate. Because there's YouTube chat while the video's happening, and then there's the Zoom chat. Okay. It's really hard to watch both of them and run the Zoom call at the same time.
And after the Zoom call, you upload the video, right?
Well, that's what I had been doing for most of the time, but now I stream from Zoom straight to YouTube live.
Oh my God. Can you do
that?
So
it automatically records.
Okay, good. Yeah. Save some time.
It saved me time. Yeah, I'm not having to wait for the file to process and then upload. Wait for the file to upload. And all
it always shows for me, even if I'm not participating. When I have the link, I put to hear something. Especially because Dennis is always there. It's
Dennis is great. Without Dennis and Chris and Jim and other experts being there to help us learn more, I don't know if it would even have kept going this long. You know, if it would have been just a bunch of newbies sitting around.
But even though
they'd only learn as much as I know, which is really not that much.
No, that's not the question. It's funny for me to watch because it's some questions I would never thought about it. Like, really thinking about this?
Yeah.
This is a specific thing that you guys are chatting for 20 minutes about it? Just rip it off and put like another set of wheels. Just what are you talking about? And it goes very specific in issues that oh my God. So for me, it's kind of fun to listen to it. And also helps me to try to bring more product. Just try to talk to manufacturers and say, look, there's this issue going on here.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the case that you start doing your tire truer, which is something that we still don't have like a definitive layout or design that is okay. That's the one.
Yeah.
Like we have the hoodie for the
That's
aluminum
pretty
wheels.
much the
But
standard,
for those guys, well, the hoodie has been around for 20 years. I have mine. I think my father gave me when I was 15 or something like that. But this one, we have the Professor motor that it's good, but it's not perfect. You have the overdrive, I think is the top of the line. You have the CG, which is 3D printed. That's very good too. But there is still, in my opinion, there is nothing like, okay, this is the industry standard. You go for it. So you want to talk a little bit more?
Sure.
I think you should raise a little bit.
I'll raise it.
There you go.
So it's called a GNS tire grinder because
we're gonna put some pictures while you talk.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so we don't need to show.
We'll edit that in. During the Worldwide Stock Car Chat, Dennis had showed something that he built himself in his own home shop. He's got basic lathe and milling tools that he uses to do things like that.
Have you been to his garage?
I've not been to it, but he's shown us pictures.
Yeah, it's the whole 2-car garage is just tools hanging and latches and this is crazy. It's crazy.
So he showed one which was basically, it's kind of like this, where it's designed for a whole axle, meaning pressed-on plastic wheels, Electric, Carrera, Fly, so many, to clip in, much like the CG and the Tire Razor and Tire Truer and the RSM and all are designed to do.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Tire Razor, do you know the name of the guy?
John Sanders?
Sanders. Yeah. That's the best name for a tire truer. Sanding tires. Sanders.
I never
thought about that?
But okay. Yeah,
so what's your name? John Sanders. What?
Yeah. John Sanders made a sanding machine.
Sanding machine, yeah. Okay, sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But the downside with those machines is that you have to keep that plate moving side to side.
Yes.
Because otherwise the tires get ruined for a variety of reasons. And so I had a Tire Razor. In fact, I was the one who made the Tire Razor video for John on his Tire Razor channel and did basic instructions for it. And once I got more into 3D printing and learned more about CAD and stuff, some other guys had designed a reciprocator for the RSM to move the plate automatically. Yes. And I liked his design.
RSM is the overdrive one.
The overdrive, yeah. His design worked for the RSM, but the Tire Razor is a different shape, so I couldn't use it. But I was able to get inspiration from that design to do one for the Tire Razor. And then it was easy to make adjustments. I just had to have the machine in hand. One of the guys had a Tire True, so I made the adjustments for the Tire True. And then one of the guys got an RSM, so I did that. And so my version of the reciprocator, which is an iteration of the original one for the RSM, and then I did one for the MSR. So basically there's a reciprocator that I've designed for all of those machines other than the CG slot cars because they have their own. And I'm like, okay, that works, right? And the reciprocator is simple and cheap and easy to put together and use. But I didn't like just the whole side-to-side sanding plate. The counter-rotating drum thing seemed to be the way to go for precision and, whatever. And Chris was always talking about how that's, the best way to true tires.
Who's Chris?
Chris Walker.
Okay.
So when Dennis showed that, I'm like, that's awesome. I need to be able to do that in a 3D printed thing. And so I just started working on it in CAD and showed pictures to Dennis and the guys in chat every once in a while to show them what I'm doing. And some of them had lots of ideas for improvement. And as I was designing it, I had more ideas for improvement. But basically, the main features of this, obviously, counter-rotating drum against a rotating axle, right? So those are both rotating, but instead of having the pulley go directly from the drum spindle to the axle pulley, which would alter the tension of that band as you go in and out. I just added another idler, so you have band going from here down to there and then up to the wheels. So the band tension always remains the same no matter how close or far the wheels are to the sanding. And I also wanted to make sure that the sanding...
Which is something that you have on the hoodie, because you have two bends over there too to hold the...
I also wanted to make it easy to change the sanding material, so you could replace them just when you need to, or put a whole new spindle in with a different grit. So you could do 80, then 120, and then 240 and 600, or whatever you wanted to do, just by pulling out a few screws and dropping in a new spindle.
Let me take a look.
Yeah.
So are you planning to sell this?
I am selling them. I don't want to be a business selling them. All of my designs have been uploaded to either Thingiverse or printables.com, so people can print their own. I supply the bill of materials, so with links to Amazon to buy the exact same things that I bought to build that, from the motor to the bands to
Are you sure you want to make a couple to sell?
Oh, I've made several.
Okay.
I have sold a few kits. I sold a couple of completed machines, and a couple of people have built their own. And
Because this is the very first time that you can glue the axles. Let's say that glued to the axles, glued to the wheels, without the sanding on the bottom. That's the very first time that you see something like that.
Yeah. Readily available, anyways.
Yeah.
Dennis's was the first I've seen.
Dennis.
There is actually another, I think it's a German company. I don't remember the name of the company or the machine, but they used separate motors for everything that's spun. So there's a motor that makes the sanding thing spin, and then there's another motor that makes the wheels spin.
Frankenslot?
I don't think it's Frankenslot.
I saw
but
one.
it's
Very nice.
Basically only for Carrera 124.
Yeah, I believe it is.
It might have
because
been.
I saw one. It's kind of a boxy. It's a closed box that you put inside and close it. But he doesn't want to produce that anymore. It's a lot of work for him.
No, it's not the Frankenslot one.
Not one?
Because somebody said that Frankenslot was working on one, but I hadn't seen it yet.
I saw that.
So it must be a separate
But he's
one.
not.
But either way.
He's not going to put out.
And I also wanted to make sure that this one was as versatile as possible to be able to do pretty much any 132nd axle as well as pretty much any 124th axle.
Yeah, just use here.
Yeah, the only thing you're not going to do on that is like a Mini Cooper, classic Mini Cooper, because it's just too narrow.
Yeah, too narrow.
Yeah, or I don't know, wing cars or something like that.
Very, very nice. And how much are you selling those if somebody wants
For
one?
the completed unit, I'm charging $150. And I also sell the complete kit with all printed parts and hardware for $100.
And then you buy the motor, you buy the links.
No, that's everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
So you just need to put together.
The only thing you need is a screwdriver to put it together. And I made a video explaining how it all goes together.
That's very nice.
And there have been improvements since, I sold, the first thing I sold was a kit to a guy, and he put it together and he said, hey, could this be made better? And I'm like, I'll have to think about it, and then I made it better. And another guy also got a kit, and he made some suggestions, and it's gotten better from there. So the main reason for me bringing it was not to sell it, though I will sell it if anybody wants to pay me for it. Hint, hint. But is to get feedback, right? Play with it, mess with it.
Yeah.
Give me some feedback. And I gave Dennis a complete kit. He deserves that for the inspiration he gave me. And I'm sure when he puts it together, he'll have some feedback for me on how to improve it more.
Very, very nice. I like it very much. Just for the fact that we don't have to do the sanding on the bottom. That is always kind of, if you have something in between, it kind of sticks out and you kind of mess the whole thing.
And that's, with a really high grit like the 80 grit, that's still going to do that. So you can knock off the high grit pieces with the file as it spins.
Yeah. And
or go 120.
I remember when I was setting up my cars for far out, I always have problems trying to get the tire straight. And the wheels is always kind of a little wobbly, so it's never perfect. So I just try to take the wheels, unglue the wheels from the axle. But when you put it back, it's never straight again.
Yeah. So
it's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, I don't know if I mentioned this, was these clamps that hold the sanding spindle on, below them are screws just below the ball bearings.
Okay.
So in order to tram the sanding spindle to your axle, to make sure that they both hit at the same time, which is a notorious problem for pretty much all of these machines, you just back off whichever screw is hitting last, and then pushes it towards your axle. And so basically, quarter turn, check it again, quarter turn, check it again. And once you get them both hitting,
in a line,
good.
Yeah. Very, very nice.
This is designed to take standard 1/32 scale bushings, just pop in and out. Or it's both V-shaped above and below that. So if you have a bushing that's too large, it'll sit on top, or one that's too small, it'll sit down below, being held in by the pulley.
Is that the very first slot car product that you've developed?
I did the reciprocators for all those other machines, but no, not really. This is the first complete machine like this.
Is that your background, engineering?
No.
It's just
not
hobby?
at all.
What is your background? We haven't spoken about your background.
My background is actually architecture.
Really?
Yeah. which I never did professionally.
Oh, okay.
The college convinced me that was a bad idea.
Why are you finishing it? Yeah.
I got my degree, but it was just I had no interest in doing it anymore once I learned the reality of it.
Of the profession.
The profession.
Yeah.
So had I, the funny thing is I keep saying, if you were a first robotics at high school and middle school thing where they design and build a robot for competition. Both of my sons went through that program. And my older son is a mechanical engineer with SpaceX. My younger son is he's up in the Redmond one. And my younger son is a software engineer for Amazon. So they both are doing really well. And they both went through that program, and they both basically found their calling in that program. That program did not exist when I was in high school.
Yeah.
If it had, I probably would be a mechanical engineer of some sort.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's. Can you imagine like having that chance to develop those kind of things when you're a teenager? Because, like a teenager could,
This is totally a teenageable thing, right?
Yeah, teenageable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the computers and the resources and the 3D printing now, can you imagine you print stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's super cool.
Greg, thank you very much once again for coming and traveling and coming to enjoy the race. I hope you have a great time. I know that you're already having it.
Thank you for having me. And I'm having a great time.
Let me know if you need anything from us. The races, we know that me and Carlos, we were swamped with this. It's just like a lot of tents and people and donuts and stuff going on.
Yeah, keep getting the donuts. That's a good
thing. The donuts is on Walter. But tomorrow we're going to have a food truck. We need to see the food truck tomorrow.
Let's try the pastel.
Yeah, it's a Brazilian thing, but the guy is having a special menu for breakfast and stuff like that. So you're going to enjoy it.
I'm going to enjoy that. Yeah. We went to Brazilian for dinner
food yesterday.
Night.
It was good?
It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Very good one. Enjoy the race. Enjoy your time here. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.